Welcome back to the Play Action Podcast. Episode 3 of the new season. Brand new season. Just finally kicked off. Finally got college football again. Great Saturday games.
Just to have football back, you know,
Just
it's
have
great.
football back.
It was great. Finally, felt like it's been forever.
I was, I'll be honest, I was on the couch watching UMass play New Mexico State.
Yeah. You were?
Because that's how deprived of football I was.
Oh yeah, exactly. I just needed something.
I know.
But yeah, there was kind of just two main games this weekend, and that consisted of Notre Dame playing Navy in where was that?
Ireland.
Yep. And obviously USC and San Diego State. So I think we're just going to briefly recap those games and kind of our reaction to those, starting off with the Notre Dame and the Navy game. Notre Dame, I mean, what a fun team to watch when they have someone in that quarterback position like Sam Hartman to be able to elevate this team.
Well, we were big Sam Hartman guys last year when he played for Wake Forest. Unfortunately, he played for Wake Forest.
Yeah.
So he just he never really got the national attention he deserved.
Yeah.
But now that he's playing for Notre Dame, I'm really excited to have the nation kind of rally around him.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a very likable dude. He plays the game the right way.
A little weird.
A little
Goofy with the, you know, the rib necklace that his mom made him, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know about that. Kind of weirds me out personally.
Just adds to that aura for me. You know? He's got that dog in him.
Yeah, he does.
So.
He does have that dog in him. Remove the rib, replaced it with that dog.
Replaced with the dog.
Exactly.
He played fantastic though. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna take anything away from Navy. You know, it's Navy.
Yeah.
You know, thank you. Salute you for your service.
Yes. Thank you. But yeah,
on the football field,
football team's not the greatest.
Yeah, not for them.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic. You know, he really made Notre Dame look threatening for the first time that Notre Dame hasn't been in a couple years, it seems like. So
the only problem I have with Notre Dame this year is their schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Clemson. I think Clemson at home. Who else they got? They got USC, and then at home, and then they got, who do they have on the road? Ohio State.
I think Ohio State's at home, isn't it?
Oh, maybe. Okay, but I know that 2 of those games are at home and one's on the road.
On the road. Yeah, something like that.
But I mean, still 3 teams that are, those are 3 powerhouse, teams.
Yeah.
And so, it's so easy to just take something away, or to watch that game this weekend and be like, yo, these guys are playoff contenders automatically. Mm-hmm. But, you can't jump to conclusion. It's Navy, and their schedule is just brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see them being a top 15 team all year, but, to be able to go through that schedule with only 1 loss, and obviously they don't get to compete for conference championships. So that already puts them at a disadvantage. You're looking at probably having to be a 1 loss or even an undefeated team to be even considered in the playoff talk.
Well, yeah, and we talked about all those juggernauts, Ohio State, Clemson, USC, and we forgot to bring in Stanford too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a challenge in itself.
Stanford obviously beat them last year. So.
Yeah.
But
I forgot about that.
No, yeah.
Hopefully they don't get Marshall again this year.
Yeah, no. But I don't know. Like, it's Navy. It's week 1. You just want to see Notre Dame go out there and take care of business. Yeah, and that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
They didn't leave any doubt. The game really was never close.
Yeah,
like it was close at 0-0, and then the ball kicked off. Yeah, it wasn't really close.
Yeah, that was really that was the only time it was close. But a little bit more of a disappointing week and some signs of weakness, I thought, from that USC San Jose State game.
Tons of weakness. And I know it's week 1. I know they have a lot of defensive transfers, and I know they're just getting back into the swing of things. But I know that you mentioned on Twitter that USC's biggest weakness was on defense, and they did absolutely nothing to solve that problem. You could put whoever you want around Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams is going to produce.
Yeah, he was electric. I mean, he was electric.
Fantastic.
No doubt about that. I think it was, 500 total yards.
Yep.
341 passing and 160 rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, Caleb Williams, he's capable to do that almost just about every week.
Yeah, like the team played really good on offense. Caleb made some plays. I know there's that play where he fumbled the snap.
Yeah.
And then like ran back like 10 yards and then launched it like 70 yards.
Unreal.
It's like, we know what Caleb's going to give you. Caleb's going to put points on the board, and he's going to single-handedly win USC football games.
Yeah.
The problem is when you get into those close football games against, like, say, Washington, say, Utah last year beat them twice, and Oregon, you're going to have to play some defense.
Defense has got to show up.
Because those defenses will be good enough to stop Caleb at least a couple times.
And this is a team that wants to be considered as, playoff contenders.
Yep.
And conference championship contenders, national championship contenders, and defense wins championships. Caleb Williams, he's going to go out there and he's going to be electric. He's going to put up points. We're looking at probably 40, 50 points every single game.
Yep.
But you cannot be allowing 28 points at San Jose State. You're going to have issues, when Pac-12 play comes up, especially with, how impressive the quarterback class is this year for the Pac-12.
Yeah. And, I almost wanted to turn the TV off every time USC was on offense because I knew they're going to score.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't want to see their offense play. But first off, we should talk about Zachariah Branch.
Oh, yeah.
That kid's incredible.
Crazy.
The kickoff was, I heard someone talking about it and they're like, he should have been tackled like 4 or 5 times on that kickoff and he just wasn't.
Yeah.
But
see the number one receiver in his class in the country?
Yeah. So he just, adds to that already amazing receiver group that they got.
And I bet, Lincoln Riley just, when he was coming into town,
yep.
I mean, he was rubbing his hands thinking about,
I think they got the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 tight end.
Yeah.
So
just pieces of the puzzle for Lincoln Riley. But I mean, the offense is not the question for USC. It's going to be on the defensive end. And, they need to make some improvements.
Well, yeah. And like, I think that with Notre Dame and USC both playing on the same day, the easy comparison to make was them playing early October. And we saw Notre Dame's defense be really, really good. And we saw USC's defense not be so good.
Yeah.
Again, level of competition is different. But, I think it's worrisome. They have to travel to South Bend this year and play against Notre Dame on the road. So, I think that's a game looking out, a couple weeks down the line that maybe we look at USC as the underdog going into that game.
And there's, a lot's going to change from now and then. I don't think we should jump to any conclusions. We're going to find out a lot more about these teams as they start to develop as the season goes on. But, it's just making that matchup more enticing as we get week 0 of football. And it was just good to get some football back. I'm happy. We got some great games coming up this weekend. We got Utah and Florida on Thursday. We got Florida State, LSU. I'm excited for that one. Probably top 2 games of the week. And we're gonna recap those eventually, or we're gonna preview those eventually. But I think we're gonna start with some. What do we got? Heisman pick? Yeah, Heisman prediction?
I think we'll go through our Heisman pick. We'll go through our conference championship predictions.
Yeah.
And then we'll also go through playoff predictions.
Okay.
As well.
All right, let's start with the Heisman pick for you, Brock.
I've been on this for a while. I just don't think Caleb's going to repeat. And it has nothing to do with Caleb Williams.
Just hasn't been done in 50 years.
Hasn't been done. It's going to take an even better season than he did last year. And USC is going to have to be good.
Yeah.
USC can't finish, 9-3 or 10-2 with no conference championship and expect him to get the Heisman.
Yeah.
Maybe if they go 12-1, win the conference and go to the playoff, he's got a better case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to be the scenario. So I've gone with a quarterback who I think is going to win his conference and get into the playoff. And that is Jordan Travis.
Wow.
Florida State.
Wow.
And this Florida State team, ever since the portal, I've really kind of fell in love with what they're building there.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably the team I'm most excited to watch play this year.
Especially this weekend.
Especially
week 1, they're going to have a huge challenge.
But they just returned everybody. Trey Benson comes back at running back, giving him, a good rushing attack. They get my favorite receiver in all of college football, 6'7", Johnny Wilson. And they pair him with a fantastic wide receiver transfer from Michigan State in Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
So now they got a little 1-2 punch there on the outside. And then they're even did really well getting a couple of transfer tight ends.
Yeah.
And Jaheim Bell and Kyler Morlock. So it's every move that they've made this offseason was to help Jordan Travis take that next step. And we're talking about a guy who wasn't even that bad last year.
Yeah.
Like he had 32 total touchdowns, over 3,000 yards, and he only turned the ball over 5 times.
Those are ridiculous numbers.
Those are already great stats. And now you get, an even better wide receiver. Your running back comes back. You got a couple tight end options as well. I just think if Florida State goes 11-1, wins the ACC 12-1, they're going to go to the playoff.
It would make sense.
Jordan Travis is going to win the Heisman.
It would make sense. And I feel like the Heisman, obviously we saw it differently last year, but I feel like you almost have to make the playoff in order to get some Heisman hype. You know, and we're talking about probably if Blake Corum doesn't get hurt last year, we're probably talking about Blake Corum being the Heisman last year.
Yep.
But, you know, due to his absence in the Ohio State game and an injury, you know, we saw a non-playoff contender in, you know, winning the Heisman. And so I think that you're right. If he goes out and wins the ACC on a little comeback season, why would he not be a contender? And, you know, I see that from a couple other quarterbacks across the league as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Say North Carolina, I'm not saying that they do go out there and go 11-1, win their conference, make the playoff. But, you know, if they do, then Drake May should be considered. Same with Michael Penix Jr. at Washington. If they do similar things, go out, win the Pac-12 and, you know, make a playoff, then I think he should be considered as well.
No, yeah. And I think the main thing with Florida State and why I think Jordan Travis has such a good chance this year is you talk about Heisman moments. You know, that's a big thing that everyone talks about. And I think it's week 4, they go to Clemson.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on the road, hostile environment at Clemson, a team that they had a huge winning streak at home for, I believe, South Carolina.
South Carolina went in there.
Yeah, went in there, beat them. That's going to be a Heisman moment right there. Jordan Travis goes in there. And that's not even, you know, talking about LSU this week.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking later on in the season.
Yeah.
If he goes into Clemson, you know, maybe as an undefeated team, maybe with only one loss, puts up a huge game, beats Clemson on the road.
Say he goes in, you know, beats an LSU team and they turn around and go win the SEC.
Yeah.
Or they go play in the SEC championship. Then you're talking about, okay, you know, this is not only a team that won the ACC, but they also, you know, took down an SEC powerhouse in LSU, and a team that, you know, compete against Georgia in the SEC championship and also beat Alabama.
Yeah. So, you know, he's going to have plenty of opportunities to prove himself. He can really get that train moving if he does something this weekend and gets that win over LSU. Yeah. It's like kind of a home game because it's neutral in Florida. Because I think last year they were neutral in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So this year it's like kind of a home game in a way. So, you know, he's going to have a ton of opportunities to get those signature Heisman moments.
Yeah.
And I think it starts this week, but I think it really starts, you know, when they play Clemson on the road.
Yeah. I think the favorite for me is going to be Caleb Williams, but I think if it's not Caleb, I think it'll be Michael Penix Jr. And it really, for me, it all depends on the team's success.
Yep.
You know, if Washington's a 4-loss team this year, I don't think Michael Penix will have a shot. I think if USC is a 3 or 4-loss team, then Caleb Williams will not have a shot. And it's crazy how much a defensive impact it has for such an individual reward, you know, or award. You know, because if I feel like if USC goes out and loses 3-4 games this season, I don't think it's going to be because of the offense. I think it's going to be on the other side of the ball, which will, you know, it will prevent Caleb Williams from winning back-to-back. But I think that, you know, Caleb is my number 1, if not number 2, Michael Penix.
Yeah, and I love the Michael Penix pick as well. That Washington offense is going to be just as electric as the USC offense, I think. You know, so they got a lot of great pieces on that offense too. It's just going to come down to the Pac-12 just being a gauntlet this year.
Yeah,
so,
that's the tough part. Is, you know, we're going to see, you know, who's going to be able to get out of that gauntlet with only one loss, and hopefully it'll be one team, because I would like to see the Pac-12 back in the playoff this year.
Absolutely.
No, they haven't been in it since, what was it, Oregon? Was it the first year?
Let's see. No, it was Washington a couple years later. The Jake Browning team.
That's right. Yeah.
The Jake Browning team.
So, I mean, I think there's only been 2 Pac-12 teams that have made it to the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it'd be nice to see one more make it before obviously they diminish next year. So anyways, yeah. So we jumping into previews, or we still got?
We'll go conference predictions.
Oh, conference predictions. Okay. All right. This will be kind of your segment. I'm gonna kind of just respond to what you're thinking. So should we start with Big Ten?
Yeah. You know, I didn't really do anything too crazy, I don't think. Probably the easiest pick for me on this list was my first one, and it is Michigan winning the Big Ten. I just think They got Ohio State at home this year.
Yeah.
It hasn't mattered the last 2 years because they've just been the better team in both games. But they got them back at home this year. They do travel to Penn State. That will be a tough game for them. But other than that, I think they're going to roll through their non-conference like they usually do. And then they will.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I'd hope so too. But then they'll line up with Penn State. They'll line up with Ohio State. And I think they'll win both those games.
Yeah.
And then, you know how it goes. Usually the team that wins that division wins the conference.
Yeah. Who do you think it will come out of the other side of the other division?
I think there's a couple teams. I like Iowa a lot. I like Wisconsin as well. I think my dark horse to come out of that division is Nebraska with
Matt Rule.
But I'd probably say Iowa or Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I just think Michigan's a team that could win the whole thing this year.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
They're probably one of the few teams that can compete with Georgia.
They're one of those teams where it's like we know who's going to be their quarterback. You know, we have powerhouse teams. Obviously, Georgia, Alabama. I mean, there's question marks at that quarterback position, which, you know, it's causing a little hesitancy for me in those teams. And obviously, Michigan, we know who that guy's going to be.
And they got the 2 stud running backs coming back.
Yeah.
Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum.
Yep. Yeah, so I don't think there's very many question marks. I'd like to see them healthy throughout the entire year. And I agree. I think Michigan will win the Big Ten and, you know, head back to that playoff again this year. Big 12?
This is going to be the pick I regret the most. I just don't see any other team in the Big 12 that could possibly win the thing. Because Texas is the most talented team on paper in the Big 12. You know,
it's such a tough one. Same with the Pac-12. They're both so tough.
Well, it's with the Big 12, it's like I like Kansas State at QB. I don't love them everywhere else. You know, Deuce Vaughn was a big part of that team last year.
Yeah.
So I really want to see what Kansas State has to offer before I really, jump aboard that train. But Texas, I know what I'm getting with Texas. You know, Quinn Ewers, I think played a lot better than the stats may show.
Yeah.
I thought he was, really good for that Texas team last year. They add A.D. Mitchell coming over from Georgia at wide receiver to an already really good wide receiver, core. There is question marks at running back with no Roshan Johnson, Roshan Johnson, Bijan Robinson are both gone. So they're going to have to place those running backs. But I think that might be a more pass-heavy Texas football team this year.
Yeah.
I think they might throw the ball a lot, and I just think they're the clear favorite.
Yeah. What about Oklahoma?
I think Oklahoma, I want to see what they look like in year 2 under Venables.
Yeah.
But I think if there is a conference to have a sleeper playoff team, it's going to be the Big 12.
To sneak one in there?
Kind of like what TCU did last year.
Yeah.
I think it would be the Big 12.
Yeah.
Somebody just goes on a run.
Because I think that I'm not saying it's not as competitive, but I am saying it's not as competitive this year.
I think it's like almost too competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everybody's on like the same level, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it's like, and that level's not elite, obviously. Like when you think of the elite teams in the country, you got the Michigans, the Georgias, the Alabamas, maybe throw in some of those Pac-12 schools.
Yeah.
I just think they're a tier below, and that's where everybody is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if Texas goes out there with the talent they have, runs the table, 1 loss, Big 12 championship, we're looking at a dark horse team for that 4th seed in the playoff.
Definitely. And I think it depends on who that 1 loss is to. I'm assuming it's going to be to Alabama. But if they go into Alabama and get a win, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'd be full on board with what Texas is trying to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't like the other Big 12 teams enough to pick them over Texas.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Which is like picking Texas is death taxes and Texas going 8-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's one pick I'm going to regret in December, it's going to be that Texas.
It's going to be Texas. Well, the ACC, I mean, you already said Florida State, Jordan Travis, you're on that hype train. Obviously, Johnny Wilson.
FSU, baby.
Guy. FSU. Pac-12. What are you thinking?
I put 2 teams.
This could go to 5 different teams.
I know. I could have a new team every week.
Yeah.
But I put 2 teams. I put Oregon because I think Oregon's the most experienced. And I think Bo Nix was having a stellar season and nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
I think he had like 40 total touchdowns. He only turned the ball over a couple times. he was having a Heisman-like season before he got that leg injury against Washington. I just think Oregon, they're a year older. They're a lot more talented. I think Oregon is the team to beat right now, but that depends on if a certain quarterback is healthy. Because I think if Cam Rising's healthy, I think Utah's the team to beat in the Pac-12.
And I think they're more experienced.
Absolutely.
In a sense.
And, and it's the way football goes. If your quarterback's healthy, your football team's going to be really good.
Yeah.
There's just too many question marks. ACL injuries are usually 8, 9, 10-ish, 11 months. We're on month 8 right now. So he's barely entering that fold.
It's just tough.
It's just worrying. You know, if he comes out and plays against Florida and plays well, then I'd probably lock in Utah as my favorite.
But there's a very high probability we're not going to be seeing Cam Rising on Thursday.
Yep.
I mean, I know Kyle Whittingham as of Thursday, or as of today, so Monday, he was just denying any questions about, him and Brand Keithy, veteran tight end who's supposed to come back this year.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. I think Utah 3-peat if they're healthy, if they come back, and we'll kind of get a glimpse of that these first 2 weeks because they got tough games.
Yeah.
To start off the season.
Florida and then Baylor
on the road, a little Big 12
preview of next year.
Preview of that.
Yeah.
So Oregon, but Utah if they're healthy.
If they're healthy.
Okay, last one, the big dogs. SEC.
I tried it really, really hard. Like really hard to put LSU here. Yeah. I wanted it to be LSU so bad. Georgia has turned into a team that is the gold standard of college football.
Yeah.
And it is no longer Alabama, at least at this moment in time. Whew. Georgia, the way they recruit, the way they get their guys in, the way they play football. Like Stetson Bennett was not close to one of the most talented quarterbacks in college football last year. But he looked talented.
And he won back-to-back national championships.
Yep. So they're the kind of team you could put whoever you want at quarterback and it's not going to matter.
Go out and be successful. And the thing about Bama, like we mentioned earlier, I mean, they, after spring game or spring training, they went out, they grabbed Tyler Buckner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, what's going on? What's going on there? Like, it just seems like a desperate move. Bama's a team who's, notorious for having, a top 3 quarterback in the country at that quarterback position every single year. So, for them to go and get Tyler Buckner, and for Notre Dame, it was like Sam Hartman was an upgrade.
Yep.
So to go get Tyler Buckner, who was pretty much replaced with a better quarterback, it's just like, okay, this is not like Alabama.
Yep.
But I think Nick Saban is obviously a phenomenal coach. I think that, if he has someone comfortable at that position, I don't think he'll have any problems winning games. But yeah, Georgia just unreal.
Yeah, and I like a repeat too of that SEC championship game last year.
Yeah.
I like Georgia LSU. I think LSU wins the division again. I think they might fall a little bit short again though in the championship game, but I do like LSU a lot, and it was really hard to not put them in.
Yeah. All right, let's hear playoff predictions. Obviously we got those conference winners, so I'm assuming that all 4 of those would be conference winners, right?
Right?
You would think.
But I'm going Michigan number 1. Straight off.
You think they run the table? Is that why they're one?
I think they go 13-0. They have a big win over Penn State on the road and a big win over Ohio State at home. And then obviously they win their conference. I just think their strength of schedule will push them over my number 2 team, which is Georgia. I also think Georgia will run the table, go 13-0. People keep talking about the weak schedule. It's still an SEC schedule. They're still going to play Tennessee. They're still going to play LSU, I think, in the championship game. But I would give it to Michigan just slightly over, teams
based on strength of schedule.
Teams that they're going to play in their season. My number 3 team is my sleeper team that I think has all the tools to win it all this year, and that is Florida State.
Win it all? The Natty?
I think they could win it all.
Ooh.
Florida State's probably hoping that they don't match up with Georgia, though.
Yeah.
They want to play maybe Michigan or maybe my 4th team instead of playing Georgia in the first playoff game. But I think they have everything that it takes. They have great quarterback play. They have a fantastic running back, two great wide receivers, really good offensive line, and they've improved their defense as well. I think Florida State could be a team that wins it all.
We get to see that this weekend, you know?
Yeah.
We get to see a little preview of that.
But
huge matchup.
And then my final team is Penn State. I'm just really high on Penn State. You know, they got the number one quarterback recruit in the country from 2022 in Drew Allaire. Obviously, haven't seen him play, which worries me. I'm just going to project and be very bullish on him.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got those two running backs, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. And I think the defense is where Penn State's the scariest.
Yeah.
You know, they replaced Joey Porter Jr. with Kalen King on the other side. They got Chop Robinson, which is elite name. Chop Robinson.
I like that.
And then they got Abdul Carter as well on that defense. So I don't know, James Franklin, this is the year. This is the year to prove it. You got all the talent in the world. I think this is the year that he finally breaks through, beats Ohio State.
Yeah.
Who I think is going to be a little bit down this year.
So then they lose to Michigan, which excludes them from, you know, Big Ten championship.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they're only a one-loss team. And at that point, their one loss being to the best team in the country.
Yep.
Which I think would sneak them in that fourth place, depending on, you know, what goes on in the Pac-12. Say a team runs the table, wins the Pac-12 championship, then there's going to be that debate.
My worries is that every Pac-12 team will have minimum 2 losses, I think. And then Big 12, I think Texas will lose to Alabama, and I think they'll drop a conference game as well.
Yeah.
So they'll also be at 2 losses. So that's why I got the second Big 10 team sneaking in.
So do you think that they would have a first-round conference matchup for the playoff?
They could. I could see them flipping, you know, Georgia and Michigan too,
Georgia,
just
Penn
to prevent that.
Yeah.
Which for Florida State would be huge. Florida State would love that. But I could see them doing that as well.
Yeah.
But right now I got Michigan and Penn State probably playing in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
Down in Louisiana.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I'm cool with that. Other teams, give me 3 teams that, you know, you would consider as well.
My 3 dark horse teams?
Yeah. Well, not necessarily dark horse, but, you know, first 3 out. Probably the USC.
I'd probably go LSU.
LSU.
As one of those teams. I'm trying to think of other teams. I probably would go Oregon if I have them winning the Pac-12.
Dude, I wish there was a 12-team playoff this year.
Yeah.
It's been a perfect year to start that off.
Yeah, we'd have fantastic matchups. I'd probably go LSU 5, Oregon 6, and then maybe like a Texas 7.
Okay.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I like that. All right, week 1 kicking off on Thursday. We got, how many games we got? We're gonna 3 games. 3 games we're gonna preview. First being Thursday night, Florida coming to Salt Lake City to play the number 14 Utah Utes. And you know, we're with this Utah team, they got some injuries that we don't have answers to. Not yet. But yeah, as of Monday, no answers. Kyle Whittingham is denying all questions about that, which I mean, understandable.
Yep.
Like, why would you want to? Did he do that with last year a little bit?
Yeah, he always does that. He
Yeah.
likes to play the little mind games of nobody knows who's playing.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's his little thing. You know?
I don't understand why more teams wouldn't do that. Personally.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because I think the Big Ten is finally doing like injury reports. You have to report injuries a couple hours before the games.
Does that all have to do with betting stuff? I think betting.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's all betting. Because you want people to, you know, be more confident betting on a team going into those games.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, promotes more people to do sports betting. So exactly. But yeah, let's see. Florida new quarterback this year. Anthony Richardson obviously got drafted to the Colts this last year. And Graham Mertz coming from Wisconsin, right?
Correct.
So do we see a little bit downgrade in that position?
I think it's a huge downgrade.
Huge downgrade.
Personally, I think I've always been higher on Anthony Richardson than most people. It's just like you shouldn't be 6'4", 240 and have 4.4 speed.
Yeah, no.
That shouldn't exist.
Yeah. Only him and Cam Newton.
Literally
him and Cam Newton.
But the interesting thing with Graham Mertz is he's more of a pocket kind of guy, more pocket passer. He's not really going to use his legs to beat you. You know, he's going to sit in the pocket and throw. which was probably the number one reason Florida won last year. Was Anthony Richardson getting out of the pocket, making plays with his legs. So, if you look back to that matchup a year ago, Florida went for 283 yards on the ground.
Gosh. Yeah, it was Trevor Etienne as well. Had a monster game.
Yep. And that's something that they're not going to be able to do this year.
Yeah. Graham Mertz definitely doesn't have that versatility.
Doesn't have the versatility. They're going to be at altitude. It's different than playing at humidity. You're going to make a 10-yard run. You're going to be out of breath.
Yeah.
So, that's going to be interesting to see kind of what Florida's game plan is going into this game, because if they come up here and try to be the more physical team at altitude, it could be a long night for the Florida Gators.
Yeah. And this is just a completely different team than last year. And for Utah, I mean, if Cam doesn't play, it looks like we're getting third string Bryson Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Brandon
Rose got hurt in practice as of a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, we saw Bryson Barnes 2 years ago at the Rose Bowl. I mean, he had his miraculous drive of, underthrown balls that resulted in a touchdown somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll see if he gets a starting position. Last year, I believe he started against Washington State.
Yes.
Sloppy game for the Utes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my only concern for Utah is going to be that quarterback position.
Yeah. And, I'm so hit or miss on Bryson Barnes as well. The thing that I will give Bryson is when he was thrown into the Rose Bowl, he was getting QB2 reps.
Yeah.
When he was thrown into the Wazoo game 15 minutes before, he was also getting QB2 reps going into the season. And then the last time he was thrown in, second Rose Bowl against Penn State, once again, he's getting QB2 reps. So he's been getting, if they've known that he was going to be the starter, which I assume they have, they're just not, showing their hand. He's been getting QB1 reps all throughout fall camp.
Yeah.
So he's got a full camp to prepare himself, for this game. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and hopefully we see a more improved, Bryson Barnes going into it. But I think the big thing for this Utah team is going to be running the football. It's their bread and butter. It's what they're built on, is running the football, being more physical than the opposition. Again, you're at altitude, so it's going to be harder to breathe. They're going to want to keep that defense on the field as long as possible. And I think it's going to be just a low scoring, just dogfight.
Yeah.
To the end.
Yeah. So who do you have as the winner of this game?
Well, I have to pull out my stat, 23-1 at home in games that fans have been in the stadium since 2018 for Utah.
Jeez.
Usually teams don't come into Rice Eccles and beat Utah. I think the last team to do it was the Washington team in 2018 that beat them again in the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to go with Utah. I'm pretty confident in the team. They're much improved on defense. I think the quarterback won't be as big of a problem as everyone's making it out to be. But like I said, I think it's gonna be a dogfight. It's gonna be a close game. It's gonna come down to a final drive. I just don't think Graham Mertz is gonna get it done.
Yeah. I think that I think if this game's in the Swamp, I think it's all Florida. But I think Utah. This is the first time an SEC team has played at Rice Eccles Stadium. They obviously have only one win against an SEC team, that being Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, but 7 total losses to SEC teams, including last year. But I think that, they play well at home. If this game was on the road, I think Utah would lose this game, but I think them being at home and at altitude and comfortable, I think that they will get it done against Graham Mertz and this Florida team. All right. South Carolina at North Carolina. Neutral site and College game day?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Game day is it's in the Panther Stadium, I want to say.
Panther Stadium. Interesting. Yeah, this is a game that I'm excited for, especially that quarterback battle.
It's a sneaky good matchup.
It's a great matchup.
We're
talking about a kid who was, the Heisman favorite going into, was it 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, it was his
and then Bryce Young.
Year.
Yeah, and then Bryce Young ended up winning it. Obviously, was that the year? Did he get benched that year?
Yeah, that was the when Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Caleb Williams came in a Red River rivalry. He got benched, and obviously against North Carolina quarterback Drake May, who's getting a lot of Heisman hype this year. So 2 quarterbacks who've gotten national hype One being this year, one being 2 years ago. But I mean, what an enticing matchup.
No, yeah, and it's, I think with Drake May, he's just always been assumed as QB2 going into the class. But I do know people who have him as QB1 and have him over Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So I think, he's going to be somebody that a lot of people have a lot of eyeballs on. He's got to replace his top receiver from last yeez.
Was it Josh Downs?
Josh Downs went to the NFL. And I think they actually have a waiver problem with Tez Walker right now. He was one of their high-end wide receiver transfers. And, they're looking for a waiver for him. Don't know if they'll get it in time for this game. But it's going to be interesting to see, what Drake May looks like and
what this South Carolina team looks like.
Yeah.
Because that team was hot at the end of last year.
They, dogged Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
And then they Clemson.
Beat Clemson. Yeah. And broke that, that home record.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if they can carry that momentum into this year, I mean, they could take care of business against a North Carolina team. I mean, top 25.
Well, yeah, this South Carolina team could make a sneaky run in the SEC if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they are building off of a great end of the season last year, and they're going to try to keep that momentum going. Yeah. And what better way to do it than
getting a
rivalry win?
Rivalry win against a top 25 team. But will they get it done?
I don't know. This is another one I go back and forth on.
This is literally North Carolina.
Yeah, I
South Carolina.
I think that's what. Give me the dartboard and let me see which one is closer. I want to say that South Carolina gets it done and gets the upset over North Carolina. I'm all aboard the Drake May train. I think he's fantastic. I think he's going to be the second quarterback taken off the board, maybe even the second pick in the draft. My concern is the supporting cast and what they got on defense.
Yep.
Because, they struggled last year on defense and it was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what North Carolina looks like, but I think South Carolina is one of those teams that they get hot in the SEC. They could upset a couple people and really make a nice run.
What's the line on this game?
I'd be interested too. I'd probably say it's a pick 'em if I had to guess.
I'm looking right now. Let's see. And I mean, it's neutral site, so
maybe
North Carolina 2.5.
Okay, I was going to say 1.5. So
I'm going to go North Carolina then.
Interesting.
Based off of that. No, I'm just kidding. I think, obviously the question mark for North Carolina is not going to be Drake May. It'll be the surrounding pieces. But I think that they will get. I think he's a better quarterback than Spencer Rattler, and I think he finds a way to win that football game. So we'll go North Carolina in that rivalry game. And let's see. Last game that we're going to preview is going to be number 5 LSU against Florida State, another neutral site. Where's this one again? It's Florida.
It's like a neutral in Florida. I want to say it's like Jacksonville, but
I think it's Jacksonville.
Don't quote me on that.
I mean, top 10 matchup on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Game's on Sunday. Florida State won last year on that blocked PAT in one of the craziest games.
Well, this was an unranked game last year.
Yeah.
Nobody really cared. It was on a Sunday. Maybe people were tuning in. Not too many, though, I can assume.
We were tuning in.
And so we had it on the TV.
With our boy Tim.
Yeah.
I wish I had a number. I'd dial up Tim Walton, tell him to tell that story about the lining up the field goal. But oh my gosh, what a game last year.
But I don't know, we kind of had it on in the background and we were like kind of watching it, it's like, oh, that's a nice play.
Well, we thought Florida State was going to shut that door on that last drive. There's about a minute left there on the goal line and they decide to pitch the ball.
Yep.
Jordan Travis turns around, pitches it off the guy's chest, fumbles it.
Yep.
And Daniels takes it down the field, scores the last second, and then the PAT gets blocked. I mean, unfreaking real. I hope we get an exciting matchup again this year. And I don't see why not, because both these teams are getting playoff / conference championship hype. And this is 2 phenomenal football games, and I'm excited. I'm gonna be hyped on Sunday for this matchup.
Well, I just hope we get half as good of a game
as we did last year. Exactly.
Because that means we're in it for a phenomenal game.
We're in for a thriller.
But Jaden Daniels is back for what seems to be his 50th season. He's another one
along with a lot of quarterbacks from the West.
I remember watching his freshman year at ASU and watching him play and just be like, I can, kind of see the talent, but he's really put it together now. He's really playing good football now.
Beat Alabama last year.
Yeah.
If you would have told me Jaden Daniels was gonna be beating Alabama, I'd be like, there's no way.
Yep. But you know, it's a good LSU team. You know, they got that monster Harold Perkins Jr. on defense. That dude single-handedly won LSU that game against Arkansas. It was frozen field, conditions weren't great, just an ugly game. And Harold Perkins was just making play after play. So, you know, he's back. He's gonna be probably, you know, the star of that LSU defense. And then, you know, we got that Florida State team.
Yep, Jordan Travis. I mean, we've already talked to an extent about that team. We don't need to reiterate, but yeah, two phenomenal teams, lots of talent on the field, lots of NFL talent. And yeah, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida State.
Yeah, it's so tough.
Florida State.
This game is tough.
I
mean, you have to. You picked them for the playoffs. So, I mean,
it's that neutral site game, but it's like it's in Florida. It's going to be majority Florida State fans. There will be LSU fans there, but it's basically going to be a home game.
So yeah, we'll see about that. We'll see about that.
I think it's going to be packed. I think it's going to be a ton of Florida State fans. You know, they got a lot to be excited about. They really killed the transfer portal, and I just think they're going to be a really tough team. I think they're going to get it done. I think it's going to be another thriller. I think it's going to be a different type of thriller. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring, more offense.
Yeah, not a thriller because of mistakes, probably a thriller because of more tremendous plays.
It's going to come down to somebody making a field goal.
Yeah.
Not a field goal getting blocked or
get blocked on a PAT. Yeah.
So
I think LSU is going to win this game. I'm picking LSU.
I can see it.
And I know I could see it going either way. I could see Florida State having a great game with all the talent that they have.
Yeah.
I could see Jordan Travis balling out, but I think LSU, you know, based off what I saw last year, making it to the SEC championship, I don't see why LSU shouldn't win this game. So I'm going to go with the LSU. That's two indifferent picks between both of us.
Yeah. We got some great games though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
A ton of other good ones too that we didn't list, but it's going to be a good weekend.
It's going to be a great week.
Back.
Yeah, it's back. Let's celebrate. I'm hyped. Yeah. I think that's going to wrap things up, but have a great week, you guys. I mean, enjoy those games. We'll be back to recap it. And also make sure you follow the socials because we've been putting up like 3 to 4 graphics a day.
Yep.
And we've been ramping those up. We want to hear you guys' opinions on our opinions. And, you know, let's chat it up because we're always looking at every comment that's posted. We always look.
Even,
so, you know.
Even the ones when people cuss me out.
Yeah, exactly. We still read those.
Say I'm a dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
I read those especially.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, and he cries over it. So keep those up. You know, we love all sorts of criticism, stuff like that. So, yeah, give the socials a follow, and we'll be back for a recap of week 1 next week. So see you guys later.